Welcome to the Super Gamer Podcast. Welcome to the new Super Gamer Podcast, episode 192. Our guest this week is a character artist, a digital media design graduate, and current game development art student, a multi-instrumentalist. We have Annie Wiebe here. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Hello. That was probably the most impressive intro I've ever gotten for anything.
Well, I apologize. I have to start off here. I'm probably going to embarrass you a bit.
Okay.
But if you need to get any Levi's sponsorship out of the way, now is the time to do it.
Where did you find all this information? No, I don't have any Levi's sponsorship up my sleeve or pant leg rather. But if this was recorded, I would ask you what kind of jeans you're wearing. I do care too much.
For listeners, in I believe 2022. At Winnipeg's Icon, an anime convention, you got on stage, although you weren't actually supposed to get on stage.
How did you know this? Where did you find out about this?
I have sources.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
You got on stage. I mean, it was nothing terrible. The audience was being asked, anyone with streetwear want to like show off their fashion, whatever. You got up on stage and said you were wearing Levi's, and then admitted that you worked for Levi's. And later, the next year, you said it was the most embarrassing moment of your life.
Yes. I'm like, Kate, were you there? I'm so confused.
I was not.
You were not? Who told you about this? Oh, you're not going to tell me?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, they were asking the audience. It was it wasn't the costume contest. It was just like a fashion show sort of thing in 2022. Yeah, I guess it was 2022. Icon, the anime convention. And then, yeah, in the streetwear category, and they were like, who has streetwear? And I was wearing like a nice denim jacket I had just gotten from work. But I had covered it in like pins that I bought at Icon like that day. And so it was just like covered in fandom stuff. And I just felt like such a part of the community and I was so excited about it. So I like put my hand up, and I'm the kind of person who like tend to like when I put my hand up and volunteer for things, people tend to like pick me out of the crowd just because I guess I'm very like really enthusiastic. So they asked me up, and I didn't even realize that most people were just going up and standing next to the stage, and then the MC, Justin Ladia, great MC, he would just hold the mic down next to the person's face, and he's like up on the stage, and they're like, or he would get down. I don't remember, but I don't know. I saw that he was up on the stage. I was like, I'm gonna go talk to him because they invited me up, so I just jumped up. But I was kicking myself about that for a year. Like, you know, those memories where like you think about them like at 3 a.m. and it's just like, and you just like cringe to yourself, and just like every time you think of it, you have to like make a visceral, guttural sound just because it's just so ugh. But then the next year it was like all fixed because they called me up again during the costume contest, and I was wearing my Princess Daisy cosplay, which I had not made myself, so that's why I didn't enter the contest itself. But then when they were doing a similar thing, like who wants to show off, I put my hand up, and again, they called me up because I guess I'm that kind of person. And then I was just like, I have to get this off my chest immediately. So I ran right up to the MC, and I was like, do you remember me? And I told him the whole story. He was like, I totally remember you, #Spon. Because when I had gotten up in 2022, I had said, like, I'm wearing my Levi's, #Spon. Because I was just, like, freaking out and couldn't think straight. But yeah, he remembered me. And so now the people who work at Icon, sometimes they'll actually recognize me and say, hey, #Spon, which is just like really wild. So yeah, I like dished the whole thing to him, and he was like, that was so funny. And I was like, really? Because I was so embarrassed about it. And he was like, oh my word, everybody give her a round of applause or whatever. So that was very healing. I still cringed about that moment for like maybe a week or two after that, but it was pretty much gone by then. That's kind of the best way to get over embarrassment. So yeah, they really gassed me up. I got up on stage in my Daisy costume, and the audience is really lovely. Icon is really an awesome community event. So
yeah, and it's an awesome costume you had.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm proud of it, but I didn't make it.
Well, you can still be proud of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud. Like I 3D printed all the jewelry, I painted all of it as well. I think I did a pretty good job of that. And a family friend actually had to release it around the waist a little bit because it's from China, so it's got like different sizing. You know, their standards for body types are a little different. So in height, I'm like an extra large, but in waist size, I'm like a small. So it's kind of difficult. So I had to have a family friend like relax it around the waist so I could breathe. But it is a very good costume. I do like it a lot. So
Well,
the
here's
best part of that costume is taking pictures with little kids.
Oh yeah, did they love it?
Oh yeah. I always feel like a Disney princess when the little kids come up to me and they're like, "Can I take a picture with you?" Yeah, it's super sick. It's amazing.
Well, the big reveal, Justin is actually a friend of the show. So
No way!
Yes.
Oh, he's so cool.
Yes,
He actually,
super nice.
He is amazing. There was, I think it was the Icon account, or someone else like tweeted like, tweet us your favorite moment from Icon this year. That was like 2023, the year that I got up in my Daisy costume. And so I quote tweeted it, just saying like, this is so cool, like being up on stage in my Daisy costume. And a friend of mine had taken a picture of me up on stage talking to Justin. And so I tweeted that photo and I was like, thank you so much for this awesome moment. Like, it was so healing. It was so awesome. And then Justin like quote tweeted that saying like, you deserve that moment. And I was just like, oh my word, this is so crazy. So I felt really, really blessed from that. That was sick. So
Do you really feel Princess Peach is overrated?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Like, yeah, duh. Okay, oh my word. Recently, what was it that they were announcing? Okay, yes. I watched this reveal video from the Universal Studios YouTube account, and this might sound kind of random, but it's related. And they were announcing, like, it was like a teaser. Well, not a teaser. It was a full announcement of this new project they're building. I don't remember what it's called. The idea is that it'll be this whole theme park with like different mini theme parks with very specific themes inside of it. And like one of the mini theme parks within the bigger theme park is a Mario theme park, akin to like the Mario theme park that already exists. I think it's in Japan. Obviously, it's almost definitely in Japan. But this Mario theme park, they're announcing it, and they're like, you'll get to walk around the theme park and meet all of your favorite characters. And then they list the 4 main characters as if it's like these are the only Mario characters, and it's like Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Donkey Kong. And I'm just sitting there fuming, like those are not the main characters.
I'm actually
Mario.
surprised Donkey Kong gets a higher billing than Yoshi.
Right? It was so.
I love Donkey Kong. That's my guy, but.
Luigi might have been someone else. It might have been like Mario and Bowser, and then like, but one of them was Donkey Kong, which I was just like, how is Donkey Kong before? You know what? But the thing is, I'm not an authority on this. Like, I know my opinion is not the most important one here because my experience with Mario games is so not correct. Like,
okay.
When I talk to people who are like real Mario fans, like grew up playing the actual platformer Mario games, like they know what they're talking about. And I'm just like, hee hee, I played Mario Party 7 when I was a child, and then I played Mario Kart Wii. And so to me, Daisy is like the main character of Mario because I have an older sibling who always wanted to play Peach. So I couldn't play Peach. What other pretty girl is there? I want to play a pretty girl. Oh, okay, I'll play Daisy. So for me, Daisy has always been the main Mario character to ever exist. But I guess I'm just wrong.
Well, I did think, I assumed you're young enough that Peach is how you know Princess Peach. I am old enough that she was Princess Toadstool.
What?
Up until N64, and then they suddenly, she has like a note in the Mario 64 game, and it's like Peach, like she signs it off, and that was the first ever. It was like, oh, now she's Peach. Hey, super gamers. Interrupting my own show here to say I knew I would get this wrong. Something felt wrong when I said it. Mario 64 isn't actually the first time Princess Toadstool was called Princess Peach. Apparently, according to wearepeach.fandom.com, that's we-r-peach.fandom.com, on the wiki there, in Japan, I'm quoting, in Japan, her name has always been Princess Peach, but in the West, she was originally known as Princess Toadstool due to Nintendo of America renaming her when localizing Super Mario Bros., feeling that Peach was irrelevant to the theme of the Mushroom Kingdom. And it goes on to say that in 1993, it's actually Yoshi's Safari was the first time that Princess Peach was used outside of Japan. So there you have it. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the actual user who made this entry to credit them directly, but I'm apparently very bad at figuring that out on a wiki page. Please, someone drop me a line and tell me how to do that. I'm looking through the, logs, and I don't really follow it. I'm assuming it's this Dr. Peach person, but it might not be. But anyway, it is on we-r-peach.fandom. Okay.
Is that like from that Dear Mario meme, or is that different?
I don't know the meme, but it's like she's inviting Mario to the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
know.
I think that is the origin of the meme, or it might be remembering wrong, but there's this really funny meme where it's like a letter from Peach to Mario, and I think it might have been voiced, or people just voice it for fun. But like the meme format is so good because they'll put the craziest shit in the letter. So it's like, "Dear Mario, you're a dumbass. Love Peach." And it's just there's a lot of room for jokes in there. Can I cuss on this show?
You can.
Okay, cool. Anyways, yeah. So Mario, I'm wrong about Mario opinions apparently, but I still feel like
no, I there's no wrong opinion. But anyway, you have known that since you were a kid, you've always wanted to be a game dev. When did that strike you?
Oh yeah, definitely not my whole life. Like my history with video games is sort of, it's weird. Like it's weird talking to other people about video games, like when they're talking about why they love video games, why they're passionate about it. I have this sort of like, I always have this consistent weird moment. It comes up a lot with my friend Derek. He loves to talk about video games because he just has this, he's one of those people who his memory is like archival. Like he remembers things the way like a researcher remembers things, like evidence for an essay, you know? So he can see something and go, oh, that's like that one game that I played when I was 8 years old back in like, I don't know when he was born. So I don't want to guess because it's also stupid. But like back in before Annie was born, this game that I played had that one feature that we're talking about. And I don't like, and so when he remembers those things, I'm just like, oh my word, like he's been playing games since he was a little child, and he was picking up on information like this since he was a little child. Like that's so cool. And then like, I mean, to be fair, he's a programmer and I'm an artist, so like those sort of game design bits of like fun information are maybe a little more relevant to him, maybe. But I don't have that because my experience like as a child being inspired by video games, it was not me playing them and thinking like, this is such a cool art form, I love to play video games. Playing video games is a hobby of mine. Maybe it's a part of my character. Maybe it's something that I talk to my friends about. No, it was never, ever, ever that. I loved video games, but I loved sitting on the couch and watching my brother play Ocarina of Time. I loved sitting on the couch and watching my brother play Skyward Sword. I loved sitting on the couch and watching my brother play Super Smash Bros. And occasionally I liked sitting on the couch and playing Animal Crossing while my brother looked over my shoulder and told me I was doing it wrong. And maybe that makes it sound like my brother's an asshole, but he's not. He just was a young boy in the early 2000s. And when you're a boy in the early 2000s who plays video games, that's normal. And if you're a girl in the early 2000s who plays video games, that's not normal. So that just kind of wasn't a thing. Like it never even occurred to me that it'd be an option for video games to be something that I cared about, something that I prioritized, something that I asked for Christmas. So I was always psyched about them when my brother had them, and I always wanted to ask him about them and watch him play them. And I loved Animal Crossing. Luckily, because Animal Crossing had like an incentive to let other members in your household play it, my siblings and I all played it. But without Animal Crossing, it would have been a completely one-sided thing, and I still would have loved it because like I still love watching people play video games. It's still like such a huge moment of connection for me. But it's weird having that experience and listening to people talk about what they love about video games and all of their deep memories and the way they affected them, and mine is just so different. So when I finally realized that was an option, like a real option for me as not just a hobby or like an interest or a part of my character, but also as a career, that was in high school. My brother brought home a PS4 when I was in grade 9, I think. And he said, hey guys, I bought a DVD player. Because at that point, like he was the only one in the family who really played video games regularly. Like my other sibling and I, we definitely like played, sure, but it wasn't like a hobby of ours. Like it was just like if there was one specific one, like The Sims, like then we'd play it, right? But it wasn't a hobby of ours. So he brought home a PS4 and he was just thinking like people are only going to use this as a DVD player, and then maybe I'll bring home games sometimes, because he worked at the Source at the time. So sometimes they'd have game sales and he'd bring home PS4 games. And then eventually he brought home this one game, name drop time, Detroit Become Human. a little bit regrettably is like my intro to really loving video games. And so I
Why
saw my
regrettably?
brother playing. Well, regrettably, because every time I have intelligent discussions about Detroit Become Human nowadays, it's like trying to have an intelligent discussion about Twilight, which I also undeniably love. I loved the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. I love me some vampire romance if it's Twilight specifically. I don't like the Vampire Diaries. But it's like one of those things where you're like, I know it's bad. I need you to know that I know it's bad, but I also need you to know that I like it. Like, and Detroit is not bad in the way that Twilight is bad. It's just hard to have an intelligent discussion about it because Detroit Become Human is a game that is trying to make a really intelligent point and is flubbing it really badly. But the intelligent point that the game is trying to make is still really interesting. But the game is not a good example of that intelligent point. So, and basically for people who don't know it or haven't played it, like what I'm getting at here is that it's the classic robots are intelligent enough that they're basically a new form of life. Like, do they deserve rights now? Are we going to give them rights? Do we believe that they actually are alive? Whatever. You play as 3 different robots, androids, trying to get rights. And then the whole game is just an awful, heavy-handed civil rights allegory, and it's really sad because there is just so much more room to have interesting discussions about what this would actually mean in the context of artificial intelligence or robot life. And they do make some interesting points or hint at some interesting points about, like, you know, where does their intelligence originate from? Like, how did it happen? You know, like, how does their religion work? Because, like, some of them have this weird like they have a weird idolization of this one old robot. But anyways, they don't make those points as much as they should. Instead, they focus on making points like having them march through the streets, like putting their fists up in the air and using a like fist icon on a flag. And it's just like, that's not for you. That's not yours. And then of course, like the main character who really like leads the charge for rights is played by Williams. I don't remember his name, but he's the one black character. It's like, okay, great. So he's the one, right? So he's like our token. Great, awesome. And like, they even get sent to like gas chambers, which is crazy. When the situation gets really bad, the humans start sending the robots off to like concentration camps, like literally. So it's just really heavy-handed and disappointing. And it's like, when I played it, I was 15-ish, so I'm playing it like, this is the coolest game in the world. I didn't realize that video games could tell these deep, intelligent stories. Now I really want to make video games, and that was like a big inspirational moment for me. And now looking back on it, I'm like, there's this twinge of embarrassment because I'm like, but that wasn't actually a really good example of that. Well, not to say that it wasn't valid inspiration, but
to be honest, I desperately want to play that game now.
I did really enjoy it first time I played it. I wish I could enjoy it more now, but it wasn't made to be replayed, unfortunately. Like, because that type of game works so well when it's made to be replayed. All it needs is just a little more features, making that more convenient. This game is kind of lacking that. Like, it's really long. Well, all things considered, it's not that long, but if you're playing it over and over again, it's going to feel really long because the parts that you have to play over and over again are many, and they're not skippable if you want to actually do a full replay. So
I'm kind of feeling that way currently about Baldur's Gate 3, and I shouldn't, because like Baldur's Gate 3 is awesome and is big in an awesome way, but like there's so many different ways to get to the end and choices to make, and I've just finished it and I'm like, I really want to know what happens if I choose all this other stuff, but I do not want to put in another 160 hours.
Right, yeah, because you'd have to do all of that stuff to get those other options or to make them worthwhile, right? To really get that whole experience, you'd have to do all the stuff that you've already done. It doesn't provide any more flavor. So, yeah, they do have like a chapter system where like you can go back and replay a chapter and get a different result on that chapter, but that doesn't carry through to the rest of the game. That save data between chapters only carries through if you do a full replay from the beginning and keep going without skipping anything, which just sucks because I just don't want to watch. There's some harrowing stuff, so I won't get into it for spoilers. But yeah, I don't want to watch someone get bashed in the head over and over again. Thank you very much.
So this lightning bolt moment when you're like, oh, I could be a game dev, was that before or after you illustrated a children's book, Operation Teddy Time, with a former teacher?
Oh my goodness, yeah, you must have talked to a lot of people or something. Or maybe just Chris Poynton, I don't know. So that was also at high school. So high school, grade 9-ish was when I played Detroit, and I was like, whoa, it's a video game, but it feels like a movie. And I recently thought that I wanted to do movies because I want to be an artist for my career. But then I realized that I don't like doing movies. And now I'm feeling like this video game is so cool, and so I should do video games for my career. Anyways, that moment was in grade 9. Teddy Time was, I think that was around the same time. I think I finished in grade 11. So it would have been grade 9 that I was brought onto the project. So, like, before and after, or at the same time, arguably, Teddy Time, one of my high school teachers at the time, approached me and said that I was recommended by another classmate of mine, which is super nice. Shout out Lexi Herod. Thanks for the recommendation. So she approached me saying like, hey, here you can do art. Like, I'm writing a children's book with a friend of mine that we've been working on this for like a decade. Like, would you be interested in illustrating? And I'm like, oh my word, absolutely. And in high school and middle school, for a while, I knew I was an artist because whenever we had assignments that included art portions, I would just go ham on it. And I would just do really well and get a lot of compliments. But for a long time, I didn't realize that I could actually just go out of my way to do art as a hobby. So I only actually started really doing art like regularly in grade 8 or so, where I started keeping a sketchbook and I would doodle in every class, like in the sketchbooks that I'd actually have my doodles with me and not just lose them on some assignment somewhere. So she approached me with this and I was like, oh man, I guess that means I really am an artist, huh? So I took a couple weeks just sort of practicing drawing dogs because the book, Operation Teddy Time, centers around a dog named Teddy. And all of Teddy's misadventures. So I practiced drawing dogs for like a week, and eventually I was like, I can draw dogs. Okay. I already know I can draw people because it's all I draw ever. So then I had a meeting with my teacher, Catherine Schrader, and her co-author, Tara Clark, at Catherine's house. And I showed them like a little portfolio I had made. I think I actually even did a little demonstration in front of them where I just like drew something really quick while they were chatting. And I was like, let me just take 5 minutes to draw this one character and see how you feel about it. And then I did it and they were like, oh, perfect. That's exactly the style we were looking for. And so that worked out really well. It was kind of an interesting process though, because I only acquired a somewhat good work ethic in my first year of college. So you can imagine that being an illustrator on an actual like project, like a book project in grade 9 didn't like go that smoothly on my end. So I think there was a lot of like me forgetting, oh yeah, there's this project that I'm working on for like months at a time, and then remembering, oh yeah, I should probably do this, and then working on it for a bit. And then I think eventually they gave me a pretty hard deadline, and then I crammed hard and I made it like without really thinking about any of my assignments at school, and that's what really got that project finished. But prior to that, there had been some, like I had done some drawings and then thought I actually hate these, and so there was like one whole redesign where I like completely redid a bunch of pages and like redesigned the way I'd be drawing the people and stuff. So but the final result is pretty good considering I was in grade 11. I think if they ever approached me and were like, hey, would you want to do a re-release sort of thing of this, or like a remake of this book, I would strongly consider it, even if they weren't paying me. Just because I'm like, oh, I'm like so good at art now compared to that. Like I can do so much better. But it was the best I could do at the time. I'm pretty sure it was the best I could do at the time.
It's very good. So.
Oh, but thank you.
I'm sure you have higher standards for yourself now. But
yeah,
it's awesome. But you kind of got into the, like, I'm curious, being so young and, it's an actual, like, published book, like, was it kind of weird, like, when they give you the hard deadline, are you like, oh my God, I'm just a kid? Like,
No, I did not feel, oh my God, I'm just a kid at all. I was like, finally. I think that was probably the beginnings of understanding a big part of myself and how I work, which is something that I understand completely clearly now, and that is just that I need deadlines. Like, I talk with my instructors all the time. I know Matt Broska can definitely speak to this. Like, he's my visual artistry and animation instructor. Like, I'll pull him aside and be like, hey, Matt, you don't need to say anything. I'm just going to talk at you and tell you exactly when I'm finishing these assignments. So I'll like tell him like, this assignment is due in 4 weeks. I want to finish this part by week 1, this part by week 2, you know, like, and I have to do that so that I can actually get it done. Cause it's hard for me, like, it's hard for me to focus on something when I can't see it in front of me. Like, it's hard for me to remember that it's a priority if I don't see it in front of me. So when I look at my calendar, if something is at the end of the month and it's the beginning of the month right now, I'm just not going to think about that thing because it's not real compared to the other things that are sooner. So that's part of it. And then also part of it is that like that urgency is very helpful for me. I mean, like if it's not clear already, I have ADHD, so it's just all part of that. It's all part of coping. But yeah, deadlines for me are 100% necessary. So it doesn't surprise me now in hindsight at all that, you know, I was sort of, well, there's a pretty fun word for this, maybe like dawdling my way through doing that project for the first 2 years or so, and then finally really tucked in and got it done in the last little bit. That's no surprise at all to me now. And if I could go back and change anything, I would just say that I would, in the very first meeting, I'd sit down with them and say, okay, what are my deadlines for this? And we'd sort that out. But I really respect that at the time, the authors of the book, they wanted to be really understanding of the fact that I was a high school student, and that I probably wanted to focus on my studies, and that I was also just a kid. So I think they were just trying to be really like understanding and patient with that, and I do respect that. But knowing who I am, like I would go back and I'd probably say, I don't care how understanding you want to be, give me deadlines and make me meet them, or I won't. That's what I do now with like whenever I have a project manager. That's sort of how I talk to them. Sometimes I use more gentle words, but that's the gist: is give me deadlines and make me meet them.
So we know you love Detroit Beyond Human. Your art station, Become Human. Sorry. Yeah. Your art station, the likes you have on it suggest to me that you're a big League of Legends fan now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Is that the whole question?
That's it.
Yeah. Just your art station likes suggest that you're a big League of Legends fan. Okay. Oh my goodness, I feel so stalked right now.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's totally fine. Am I a big League of Legends fan? I guess I am. Oh my word, League is there's so much to talk about there. So my brother loves League of Legends. He has for a very long time, and like occasionally we would talk about it. Just because I am in video games career-wise, and he likes League, which is a video game. He plays other video games, but just that one, like, consistently. So there's always been that for like the longest time. He'll always come over to our place. He's moved out, but he'll come over to our place to watch the Worlds when they happen, and then he'll like try and get me involved and try and get me to sit with him and like try and explain what's happening. But it's like, oh my word, those competitions are so hard to follow. There's way too much happening. So there's always been that, and sometimes I'd ask like an inquisitive question and get an answer that I don't really understand. So I never really learned anything about League through that. Then I think I tried playing it at one point, and it's just hard to learn when you're learning on your own. Just not very engaging. Just like, it's a point and click. That's what mobile games are like. That's for babies. I don't want to play a point and click game. I'm a grown up. So that didn't really stick. And I guess going to game dev at Red River, this one instructor, Dylan Freeze or
That's a good friend of mine.
I don't know how to say his last name. I figured he'd be a good friend of yours. He's very active in the industry.
His brother and I went we're same grade. We're very good friends.
That's awesome. That's so funny. I love these connections. Yeah. So Dylan is one of the programming instructors in my program. So he doesn't teach the artists like me any classes, but he teaches the programmers, and I'm often in the room when he's teaching. So all like this semester especially, and last semester, this year, he'll just like every lecture he'll find some way to reference League of Legends, and it became like a running joke where it was so funny, and it's to the point where you'd think he'd be aware of it and start like saying, oh, I know I reference it all the time, like me with SNL. Like I watch Saturday Night Live like religiously. It's actually insane. I don't know anyone else who watches Saturday Night Live at all, never mind as much as I do. But I will reference it so constantly. I will find any reason to reference something from some SNL skit that I saw at some point. but I know that I do this. So every time I feel a need or an urge to bring up SNL, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I know I reference it all the time, but there's this one skit that's so funny. And then I'll like reference it and explain why it's funny in this context. And nobody laughs, but I've had fun. Dylan, like, you'd think he would notice it, but he doesn't seem to. So he'll just reference League like it's no big deal, and nobody in the class plays League. So nobody gets what he's talking about, and nobody gets like why it's relevant to the lecture, except for my friend June, who is, you might know June. She's really active in the community as well. She's like, she runs Peg Jam with Daniel Voth.
Yeah, I know of June. I don't think I've ever spoken with her.
She'd be a good interviewee if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's really cool. She also plays League, but she's also an artist. So it's just like, if Dylan's lecturing the programmers and she and I are in the class, and then he mentions League, we'll often give each other sort of a side eye and like laugh. Just because it became a running joke where he would just reference it so much. And it was so funny.
I'm definitely going to tease him about that.
Oh, please do.
And I'm so mad at myself. If I'd known you were a student of Dylan's, like, I could have got way more information. You'd have been like, what is going on?
I bet. But yeah, so I think, what was the turning point? Well, I guess, so I wanted to do this project over the winter break where I want to do a character design project that I could put on my portfolio as sort of a staple piece. It never ended up getting done because winter break, I was just so exhausted, and I realized, holy crap, like, I just need to veg for weeks because school is so hard and big and enormous and wow. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. But before the break was coming, I was trying to figure out what am I going to do with this character design project, and it was recommended by my instructor Kevin Salke, who used to work at Respawn, so he's really cool. He did a bunch of characters for Apex Legends. He was a character lead, so he's a big inspiration for me because I want to be a character designer. I guess I am, but I want to be one and get paid for it. He suggested that I should, if it's going to be a portfolio piece, like, imitate an existing style. And so I was like, okay, that is a big undertaking, because I love like experimenting around and making up my own styles. But okay, sure, I'll try and find a game whose style I like. And I kind of landed on League, and so I started just doing a bunch of like deep dives into League of Legends characters and figuring out how they do the characters, what style they're done in, like what methods they use. And I just got really inspired because I actually genuinely love the way they make their characters. It is so cool. The biggest thing is just that they hand paint all their textures. They're all baked in, like, they're not lit in the engine, like they're unlit, they're just painted, and it's so beautiful. I love it so much. Like, all their metal is just painted to look like metal, and they paint like bounce light on if there are gemstones that are refracting, and it's just it's so cool. I love it. It gets me so excited. So I was really inspired by that in preparation for this project that never got finished. And then when we came back into the new semester after winter break, Kevin reintroduced an existing assignment that we already had, which was our sketchbook assignment, which is like every week do a thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, sketchbook. I could just like explore doing characters every week and just have so much fun. And I already know that I love this style and like maybe would probably adore to work at this place. So I could just show off trying to like work like them and maybe, I don't know, try and get a shoe in. I don't know. But yeah, so every week for my sketchbook assignment, I've just been deep diving into League of Legends characters and trying to find one that I love. Often trying to find like concept art, like fan skins made by existing League concept artists are like the best. That is pure gold. So I'll often do sculpts of those for my sketchbook. But occasionally it's been, I did do one fan skin myself, where I don't remember what the prompt was, but it doesn't matter. I did a sculpt of Pool Party Gnar. So Gnar is an existing League character, and Pool Party is an existing skin line, and Gnar doesn't have a Pool Party skin, so I was like, ooh, I'll do this, and I'll like design it and sculpt it, and I did, and it was pretty fun. It's on my Twitter. I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, so I've just been getting more and more and more and more inspired by League characters and just like super into it just because I love the style they use. I love like it's so colorful and exaggerated, but also like really whimsical and magical, and sort of, I don't know, it feels really like a sort of home space for me at this point. So all those ArtStation likes are probably entirely me looking for sketchbook concepts and inspiration. or just really enjoying League art because it's really great.
Cool.
So I do play the game now. A little.
You said that as if it's like, don't worry. Like,
yeah, because for a long time it was like, no, I don't play it. Like, who actually plays League? Like, I just like the art. But I do play it now. I've got friends who play it and stuff. So, it's. I mean, when you want to spend time with someone who doesn't live with you, it's good to have a game like League to hang out online. So.
Where you can get very mad at each other.
You know, I personally don't. I can't speak for the person that I'm playing with. It's up to them if they're going to get mad at me, but I am happy to say I have never gamer raged at anyone in a League game just yet. I have maybe gamer raged a little at myself, very quietly. I often say, oh, I'm a dumbass. Oh, I'm so stupid. But I try to keep my voice down at the very least.
Before we get to Winnipeg Game Jam, I was going to call it Peg Jam because I'm that old. I don't know if they still call it that. But anyway, Winnipeg Game Jam.
We do sometimes, I'm pretty sure.
But before that, I have never played Stray. But I have an orange cat, and I love him so much. Will I cry if I play Stray?
You should. If you didn't cry, I'd be really concerned. Like, I mean... Like, I don't know how often you cry. So I cry very easily. Like, I'm just a crier. I love to cry. Crying is very important. Do I love to cry? Maybe I kind of hate to cry, but it's part of me, and so I accept it. I cry very easily. So any game that has any sort of emotional moment, like, I'm gonna cry. So I don't know if you'll cry, but I did a lot, I think. Did I a lot? I did. I definitely did. I cried more for The Last of Us 2. Wow. Now there's a game right there.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't played The Last of Us 1 or 2.
Oh boy, you are missing out. I really
believe it. In fact, I had the PlayStation 4 that I bought way back when came with The Last of Us.
Wow.
And I never installed it.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure I don't have the code anymore. I mean, I could probably pick it up for super cheap, but...
Yeah, oh for sure. Like at this point, the first one is so easy to find. Because it's become a PlayStation Classic now, so it's super cheap. I actually have it sitting right next to me. Love that game. So good. Yeah, that one actually, a big, giant, enormous moment in the second game got spoiled for me. I was playing the first one with my sibling when our family, we often have international students staying in our house. It can actually be really fun getting to know people from like other nationalities and stuff. It's a really flavorful experience, I think, but this one time we had a Chinese boy in like grade 11 living with us, and I was playing this game and he came down and he went, oh, this big thing happens in that game, right? And he spoiled an enormous plot point from the beginning of the second game. I was playing the first game. So I was just like, what? What do you mean? What? I didn't know that. This is the first one. And so he's like, oh, sorry. And then I think he just sort of walked away. I don't really remember. But then like 3 months later, I've gotten over it by now. I'm still sad, but I've gotten over it. Mostly. I'm not mad anymore. And then it was my birthday, and for my birthday, he gave me the second game. So
that's a nice way to make amends.
Yes, all was definitely forgiven by then, because I think like I was maybe working retail, but I was paying for my tuition, and so I did not have a lot of money to buy video games, and so that was very, very touching for me, because I might not have ever gotten around to playing it if he hadn't bought it for me, and that game really, really touched a deep part of my heart. It's really special to me now. The second one is way more special to me than the first one. Yeah.
Cool.
What was the question?
I don't remember.
Stray.
Oh, it was Stray.
Stray.
Yeah. We strayed away from it.
Stray is big. Stray is big. I'm still trying to get platinum on it. There's this one challenge that I have not managed to complete. It's just so hard. But that's not very important. It's short. My first... It's like linear. It's like The Last of Us style, where it's just like do little missions sort of thing, and it's like a linear story, but it's not like a story game where you're just making choices, right? So it's like just a linear story. But my first playthrough was like 10 hours total, like 10 hours of gameplay before I reached the end of the game. And then I played it through like 2 more times to get other trophies and whatnot. but it didn't feel like 10 hours. Like, it felt like a whole lifetime in a good way. Like, just so beautiful. So beautiful. It's one of those amazing worlds you just want to live in.
Yeah.
Like, you don't actually want to live in it, but when you're playing, you want to just like be there for a bit, you know?
Yeah, the one that I haven't even thought of the game for so long, but when it came out, the robot character really stood out to me. A specific one. I'm pretty sure there's several, yeah, but the specific, it's like TV head kind of guy, and it's
they
trailer,
all have TV.
I think. Yeah.
The one in the trailer might be Clementine. I'm not sure. There are many robot characters in that game that are very, very special. If they had I don't know what type of hat it is, but the one with a little brim, but it's a little bit floppy, and a scarf, then that would have been Clementine. She's a bit anti-establishment, very sweet little rebel girl. Love her. But yeah, as far as being an orange cat owner, I don't think that specifically would make you more susceptible to crying in this game. Being a cat lover in general, I feel like, just because I love cats so much, so anytime I even saw the cats just doing cat things, I was just like dying already. So I don't know. But yeah, I think you'll be okay. I think you should play it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
So there's a Peg Jam. This episode's coming out tomorrow. For listeners, we are recording this Sunday. It's coming out Monday. And Peg Jam is Thursday starts?
Thursday is a speaker evening.
There you go. The 22nd, I think.
Something like that.
And this will be, I think, your second ever in-person Winnipeg Game Jam. Your first was 2023, right?
Yeah, it won't be my second ever Game Jam in general, but my second Peg Jam specifically, yeah.
Right. And at the last one, you made, something reheat. What was it?
Rapid reheat.
Rapid reheat. God, I should have written that down. But you did programming for it.
I did.
Which is out of your comfort zone, I imagine?
Yeah, it is not what I'm supposed to do.
Did you enjoy it? How was it?
You know, it was awesome. It was really fun. It's funny. I've done, how many game jams have I done? Like, not hugely. I've played a small part in a couple. I've played a small like art part in like 3 different game jams. More substantial part in one Ludum Dare last year, and then other than that, just Peg Jam. So that one Peg Jam is the only jam where I have done something that isn't art, and therefore something that isn't my expertise. And yet it is by far the most fun I've ever had at a game jam. Like, it is by far my most pivotal and like important and special memory I have with any sort of industry event. Which I just think is so funny. And I don't know. What happened was I got paired up with this group that was a good friend of mine who's an artist, a friend from class, and 2 programmers from the BIT program at Red River, and another artist who was in DMD, so could 3D model, but couldn't do some of the more game dev focused stuff like animation. Well, I think he could do animation, but like not set it up in Unreal. I think there might have been one other person on our team. I can't remember. But the situation was that like the programmers on our team didn't know how to use Unreal Engine. They'd never used Unreal Engine before. They'd never used any game engine before. But my classmate and I, we'd both used Unreal Engine before. We'd done like little programming assignments in class. Like we'd have assignments where it's like, you know, as a single person, make this whole game and then like make a version of this whole game. And then we'll do a group project where you make a bigger one and you can just do the art for that one. That sort of thing is how we do assignments. And so we'd done programming in Unreal before, just on a minor level. And we knew how to follow tutorials. So it was like, okay, the only game engine that anyone in this group knows is Unreal, so we should just go with Unreal. However, the programmers here don't know how to use Unreal. How are we going to make this work? And I guess I just sort of volunteered myself because I was the one who was in person, and I'm very like outspoken, and I just kind of took on that role of like making the engine work and making everything fit together. And the 2 programmers from the BIT program were absolutely wonderful. They spent the whole jam like looking up tutorials to do like a specific thing and then making it happen, and then they do it on their computer and load it onto USB, and we'd pop it into my computer and put it into the engine. And honestly, it was a pretty good system. The next in-person game jam I did, we tried to use Git and just like dying. So I definitely am happy with the system that we use there at Peg Jam. But yeah, I guess just because like I was the only one who was in person who knew Unreal, that's what ended up happening. And we made the whole thing using blueprints. My friend Sean Pichet, also from the game dev program at Red River, he gave me like some starter code to work with. This one like little assignment they'd done in programming class was like a game where you just have a cannon and you move it around and you shoot it, was like all the starter code, and he just gave it to me. And then I did a bunch of reskinning on it, and then had to make a whole system of like making boxes that would detect what sort of like ammunition was hitting them, and then like letting the cannon itself like shoot out 4 different types of ammunition, because the game Rapid Reheat is like you have these 4 different colored microwaves and you're shooting food into the microwaves based on the color of the food, and it's pretty fun. Honestly, I really like the game. I thought it was really fun. It ended up being like a fun little arcade thing where we try and beat each other's high scores. But yeah, I had to learn so many new things, but it was a pretty good scope, so I'm proud of what we did. But I had so much help. Like I was constantly asking June, like, how do you do this? How do you do this? And then she would come over and just like sit with me and help me figure it out. And that's what's so great about like Peg Jam and the Game Collective in general, is just that like people are just so there and like ready to help you out. And I learned so much from that. I learned how to ask better questions. Like I learned actual techniques in Unreal that I've still used now. But I also just like learned team management and being a team player, and it was awesome. The people that I got matched up with were so wonderful, and I could not ask for better teammates. So that I got pretty lucky, I think. I got pretty lucky. But yeah.
Did you get a taste at all for programming? Like, would you want to do that again? And do you think learning or getting to do more of that, like, do you think that's going to help you as an artist?
I would say, honestly, yes and no to those questions respectively. Genuinely, I would love to do that again at a jam. Like I had so much fun like figuring out like how what are the core mechanics of this game, how do we make them work? Okay, let's make them work. Don't worry about art, just make a colored box, because that's all you need, and then just make it work, make the game work. Okay, is the game fun yet? No, it's not fun yet. Make it fun. Okay, now it's fun. Now put the art on. We have 4 hours, make it happen. Like that was sick. I loved that. I've actually like once or twice worked on making some game mechanics in Unreal just on my own for funsies, and it's just sick. Like it's awesome. It's such a flavorful and enriching experience just sitting down like, I want to make a working inventory system that has a like data table full of different types of items you can pick up, and like use that data table to like load it like whatever, and then you sit down and you just do it, and you just figure it out, and like if you need to Google something, you Google it, and then you make it happen, and it's so much fun. So yes, I would totally love to do that at a jam again, which is ironic because I don't think I want to do that for my career. But I guess everyone has stuff like that, right? Where it's like, I love doing this thing, but not for work, and I love doing this thing for work. So I guess that works out. So yes to that question. I don't know if it makes me a better artist. Being in the game development program at Red River, I love that the instructors have worked so hard to make a program that is collaborative, artists and programmers, where if you are an artist, you will have assignments that force you to work with art in the engine and hook up the art and make it work, and then like solve art problems using programming, and then solve engine like issues and programming issues using like art solutions, right? So it's like, oh my goodness, the game is running too slow. You've got to lower my texture budget, or like vice versa. I want this cool shader effect. Now I got to learn how to program it, right? Like learning how those different challenges interact with each other is so valuable. I've totally learned that through the program. I don't think I've learned a lot of that just through making game mechanics in general. I feel like it's a kind of a horse of a different color. I don't think like doing programming for game jams really makes me like a better artist, but it definitely makes me a way better team player, and gets me really excited about video games. So I think that's what really matters.
I thought it was so funny in the presentation, because at the end of every Peg Jam, the teams present their game, and you were presenting your game, and you showed off, you made a point, like, pause the game. You showed off the pause menu, and the place is like, oh yeah, like they love that you have a pause menu.
Yeah, I was so proud of that. That was actually awesome. I think what had happened was, so I mentioned how in the game dev program at Red River, like we as individuals have to make games for some assignments, like earlier on in the year, right? So even if you're not a programmer or even if you're not an artist, there are some assignments where you have to do both jobs, especially in the first year. So we had like one of our very first game studio assignments was each person individually is following this like one YouTube tutorial for making a twin stick shooter. Just follow the tutorial, make the twin stick shooter, just exactly the way the tutorial says. And then at the very end, part of the assignment is add something, whatever you want. And a lot of artists like just made some assets and threw them in, and it's like, this is what I love to do. I like to make assets. So then that's what I added. And I didn't even think of that. I was just like, I followed the tutorial, I made this game. This game is no fun though because I can't pause it. Like I need to be able to pause it. And I wasn't even thinking that this would be my extra feature when I was working on a pause menu. I was just thinking, I can't submit this game if I can't pause it. It's not okay. So I found a tutorial online for making a pause menu, and it was like pretty simple. It wasn't that hard. Like I had to learn how to make widgets and stuff, which is of course so useful now. So I'm super glad I did that. But it's really rudimentary. The only thing that I ran into with for issues wise is like there's this one node in Unreal called a flip-flop node where like when you do this input, it'll do this one output one time, but the next time you do it, it'll do the other output, and it flip-flops, right? And the tutorial used that for the pause menu, where it's like when you press P, it does a flip-flop. So the first time you press P, it'll open the menu, and the second time you press it, it'll close it. But then I had a resume button in my menu. So if I pressed the resume button and then did P again because of the flip-flop, it would still try and close the menu when I'd already closed it, right? So then I had to learn a whole other solution, like setting up booleans, like is the game paused? And that was super fun. And this was just like first year game dev. I'm not even a programmer figuring out how to do this. And it was like not that complicated, but it's super fun just figuring out how to solve these issues on my own. That might have been like my first ever experience being in an engine and running into an issue and figuring it out on my own. I think prior to that, it was always like, Kyle, please help me. Kyle, our game studio instructor at the time, he's really awesome, great programmer, also very active in the community. But yeah, so I just had that blueprint on my hard drive. So we're making this game, and I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, I have like some pause menu code if you guys want to hook it up. And the two programmers from the Bit program, I think both of them were also artists, or at least one of them was. And they were like super good, and so it was fun for them to get the opportunity to do some 2D art for the game by like doing pause menu buttons and titles and stuff. So like we were able to make that work, and that was definitely a really rewarding thing. I think it was super fun just going back and forth, like migrating my blueprints into the project, and then like, you know, going back and forth on the buttons, like this is the sort of asset I need to make it look good. And it was just super collaborative, like super cool having like my code for the pause menu, but their art, it's just like so visceral, so cool, so rewarding. Yeah, no regrets there. Every game I make must have a pause menu. Declare it now. I don't know about that, but I'll try.
So before I get to the last question, I am told you're a fan of karaoke. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Okay, so I guess I do have a go-to karaoke song just because I've done it so many times. I wouldn't necessarily say that it should be my go-to, though, just because it's not necessarily the best choice. But I guess my go-to is either That's Life or My Way, both by Frank Sinatra. Just because they're just like...
What does it say about me that I was like, My Way, Limp Bizkit?
I don't even know that song. How does it go?
Oh, I can't. Well, I do remember, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm talking about My Way, like...
Yeah, I know that one, yeah.
I think Cecily Strong did a My Way bit on SNL. I'm referencing SNL like I said I would. I think it might have actually been her going away sort of send-off. She did a Weekend Update bit where she was in a giant glass of wine singing My Way, and it was just sick. We won't get into that, though. My Way and That's Life, I suppose. I'm not sure why. Like, That's Life was the first song I ever did for karaoke, and it just went really well. But last time I had a really good karaoke experience was at the Limelight doing Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, and I did not expect that to go so well. The crowd loved it. So Frank Sinatra's my go-to, but I don't think he necessarily should be, because also if you're a soprano, like, maybe don't sing Frank Sinatra because he's like a tenor or a baritone, and I'm not that, so it's kind of hard to. What is a man? What has he got way down there? It's a little difficult.
So here's you just reminded me with Aerosmith. Here's an embarrassing cry moment for me.
Fun.
In grade 9, in class, they showed Armageddon, and that's not a very good movie.
Yeah,
but
I haven't seen it.
For whatever reason, at the end of it, and there's the Aerosmith song, "I don't want to close my eyes." I started crying in class.
No,
and it was
I love that.
So brutal because people are clearly making fun of me, and rightfully. I was like, I'm not crying.
Oh my goodness! Wait, what grade?
Grade 9.
Oh my goodness! That's so sweet. Oh my word! That's
I don't
hilarious.
even think I cry that easy, but I don't know. That movie's not even that good.
That song will get to you. Those lyrics are good. Yeah, that song is excellent, actually, genuinely. But yeah, as far as if anyone's listening and looking for karaoke song ideas, just if there's a song where when it comes on, you tell everyone in the car to shut up so you can sing it, that's your karaoke song. And don't try to think of it in the moment. Wait for it to come to you and then put it in a playlist, because that's what I find with karaoke songs is I can't think of them in the moment. I need to have them ready for when those epiphany moments, duh, this song is so good. Oh, also, anything on Just Dance or on Rock Band is a great option for karaoke. There you go. Now you know.
All right, last question. Okay. Back to Peg Jam. It's coming right up. What are you looking forward to the most?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I'm scared. I didn't think I would be, but I'm actually feeling apprehensive for this one because the first Peg Jam just went so well, and I just really want it to go well again. What am I looking forward to the most? I think Dan Voth is working on getting me involved as an ambassador this year. So if I can just be at the jam doing whatever it is I'm doing, I might end up making some sort of really deep, I'm 14, this is deep type poetic choose your own adventure story in Twine. I might just do that just because I love writing. If I could just be in the corner doing that and then waiting for someone to walk up to me and ask me a question so I can help them figure out an issue, I would be super down for that. That would be super fun for me. Just being around and being able to help people the way that June did at my first Peg Jam, that would be really exciting. So what am I looking forward to the most is probably, I think it's probably seeing other people have the experience that I had at my first Peg Jam. I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, I think personality-wise, you have no choice. You will be an ambassador.
Yeah, I think so too. That's kind of what happens.
But people can check you out. You have a youtube.com/@fearless_cloud. You are fearless. fearless-cloud.itch.io. Anywhere else people should check you out?
Twitter is great for me if you want to connect with me, game dev and art wise. Twitter is the best. I'm only gonna call Twitter. Don't even question me about it. It's called Twitter. I believe that's just Fearless Cloud. No dashes or underscores, but I could be wrong. I'm also on Instagram. I think it's also Fearless Cloud. I'm gonna double check to make sure neither of those is wrong, because that would be embarrassing.
Would that be the underscore, the dash, or the none?
It's always something. On Instagram, it's fearless_cloud_. Okay. So that's fun. On Twitter, it's the same thing. It's fearless_cloud_. So those, I think, are the best places to connect with me if you're interested in seeing what I'm up to and what I've been up to. On Twitter is normally where I post my latest art. I'm surprised you mentioned my YouTube, because I wouldn't really say I have a YouTube. It's not a regular
Well, that's the only reason I knew you're a multi-instrumentalist.
Oh, there you go. Yes, I am a multi-instrumentalist. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel for when I need to post something on YouTube, because it's a lot easier to share a YouTube link than it is to try and find a video on your phone. Also, storage is a thing. So yes, I do have a YouTube channel where you can see me play Happy Birthday on every instrument I own, which there are 5. And there are maybe a couple other random projects in there. But Twitter, I think, is the best place if you want to connect with me, game dev and art-wise. That's it, I think. I have LinkedIn. LinkedIn's good.
Annie Wiebe, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.